I'm Sebastian St. James. Today we'll find out how much you need to not go broke in retirement. I wouldn't want that for you. I'll have all those answers. Now, I'm talking about retirement in Australia, but perhaps you don't live in Australia. Why not? No, it's okay. You can stay where you are. The information I give here is useful for everybody. You can make a few local tweaks. Firstly, what is retirement? Retirement, the formal definition, is where you tell your boss where to go and how to get there. Yep, I think we'll pretty much all agree with that. And this is a picture of you on your retirement. Although I think you should have a few more grey hairs. Just saying. So what is the age of retirement? That is a trick question. Tricksy, false. Well, it just depends. It depends exactly on what you mean by retirement, and there are various ages at which you can retire. Fear not, I shall explain all. By that question, you may be talking about the pension age, which is as follows. If you're in Australia, born between 1954 and 1955, you're eligible to 66 years of age to get the pension. If you're not from Australia, pension specifically here means the money that the government gives you, so Social Security. And if you're born after 1957, which it does include me, then you are 67 years of age before you get the pension. 67. Yeah, okay. I'll be waiting a while. On the other hand, if you ask at what age can you retire, maybe you're talking about superannuation. Superannuation is the money that you give yourself as a gift. I know. Actually, it's taken out of your wage right throughout your working life. That's called superannuation. If you're in the US, that's like a 401k. It's an IRA. You can take out your super if you're born before 1960 at the age of 55. Between 1960 and 61, it's 56 years of age, right up to after 1964, when it is 60 years of age. So for me personally, I can access my super at the age of 60 and I'm eligible to get a pension at the age of 67. The smarter viewers of my audience will notice that you can actually get your own money out, your superannuation, 7 years in my case, before you're eligible to get the pension, which means the government wants you to use your own money before it's prepared to give you any of its. Is that true? Yes, it is. It's very true, and that's basically how they designed the system. But did you know you can also retire before you retire? What tricky wordplay is this? Retirement is when you no longer work. So even prior to the age of 60, you can declare yourself as being retired. You may not get your superannuation, you won't get the age pension, but you can still be retired. One definition could be retirement is the age when you no longer work. But what happens if you're unemployed? Does that mean you're automatically retired? Well, not quite. So let's broaden out the definition. Retirement is the age when you no longer work and you'll no longer seek work. But there's a wrinkle in that. What is the wrinkle? Some people can still be retired and work. As an example, in my case, if I chose to no longer seek work at the age of, say, 55, then I would be eligible for my super at 60, and then at 67, I'd be eligible for the state pension. So if I can arbitrarily retire whenever I want, as long as I can financially support myself, well, how exactly does this take place? Do I just get on top of a mountaintop and go, hello, I am retired? Yeah, basically that's how it happens. If you want your superannuation out, what you have to do is you have to do a written declaration, not from a mountaintop, but in writing, so close enough, to your superannuation firm. And then, if you're over preservation age, they can release it to you. So what is preservation age and what am I preserving? Am I trying to preserve myself? Well, no, you're trying to preserve the money in your superannuation. So preservation age is the age up until which any of your locked in money, because not all super money is locked in if you do eligible contributions, for example, after that preservation age, you're entitled to start taking your money out. It's no longer preserved. I will do another video on superannuation specifically, so subscribe to my channel now so you don't miss out on that video. So, if we don't want to go broke in retirement, and let's hope that's your wish as well, what are your sources of income? Well, firstly, that's superannuation, the money that you've put aside into the state system throughout your working career. Social Security is 67. Thirdly, money from investments. So I'm talking about stocks, bonds, things like that. Money from savings. Why am I separating savings from investments? Well, I'm seeing savings as money in cash, money that you got in the bank or in something secure, no risk, but that's quite separate from those assets which are at risk, but are expected to grow more. And lastly, money from work. Hopefully you won't need that, but some people do, so I've included it on my list. But what happens if I do need to work when I retire? How will that affect things? Well, how will that affect the pension that I get? Can I get the pension if I still work if I'm not fully retired? Can I get any money from the government? Well, the answer is yes, but you can only earn a little bit. If you are single, you can earn up to $180 a fortnight. Wow, that's not much, $180 a fortnight. If you are a couple, then it can be up to $320 a fortnight. There are your figures. Couple illness separated means that what? You're a couple, but for whatever reason, well, no, illness, you're actually living in separate residences. So one could be in a retirement home or in a hospital, for example, where you're still at home. Notice I've made you the healthy one where you get to stay home while your partner is shipped off. That's because you've been watching my videos and you're right on top of everything. So that's the pension. What happens if I still do a little bit of work? How does that affect my super? Well, remember, you can get your super earlier. In my case, it's 60 years of age. So between your superannuation eligibility age and your retirement, you can move to what is called a TTR, transition to retirement. Why would I want to go into TTR besides it being a very confusing acronym? What are the advantages? Well, let's say at the age of 60 you think, you know, that job in sales is very high pressure and I've had enough of that. I want to become a barista. Of course we all do. So what you do is you look at the rates and realize that the barista pay is not going to fund your Rolls Royce anymore. So what do? Well, what you do is you transfer to a TTR, the transition, you get a part superannuation payment as you're working. The downsides to going TTR, are there any? Well, yes, there are, because you're already drawing down on your super. So when it comes to time to actually retire, you'll have less of it. That's a choice you have to make. How much money should I have in order to not go broke? Okay, this is the number one question. Probably why you clicked on this video, other than you love me, and of course you're going to click on all my videos. This is taken from the ABS, the Australian Bureau of Statistics, on average by age. If you're 15 to 24 year age, well, welcome. You've started watching my videos early. You should have $6,300. If you're 25 to 34, you'll have 41K. And I'm assuming you're a male here because there are two columns. You can read that for yourself. And it's 65 to 74, which you should be retiring on average. This is not what you should have. This is what people do have, is 417,900. So 417K, that is the average, but what do you actually need? Is it the same? Probably not. Are Australians actually saving enough? Once again, probably not. Let's look at the numbers. According to one source, when you are 25 years of age, you should have about 24K. At 40 years, you should have 154K. And at 65, that's 523K. We'll come to a second source in a moment. Oh, I'm so well resourced. This is a graph as it looks like based on those figures. What's the best official source? Well, there's nothing official. It just depends on how much money you need to live personally. But we do have the Association of Super Funds of Australia, which is ASFA. If you are single, to live a comfortable lifestyle versus a modest lifestyle. So comfortable is where you don't really have to worry about money much, but you're not rich. If you're single, that would be $45,962 per year. If you're a couple, that would be 64.7K. How much money do I need to achieve that sort of level? Well, straight from ASFA again, I don't even have to do the math. They recommend, if you are a couple, then $640,000, or if you're single, $545,000. Well, I noticed something there, and that is that a couple does not need twice as much money as a single. Yes, this will come into play later on. One thing I'm noticing is the average Australian male at retirement age has 417K, whereas the ASFA recommends 545K. So Australians, and probably the rest of the world, your average saving rate in superannuation is not nearly high enough. Save more. Let's say I follow ASFA's recommendations. I get the exact amount of money which is recommended for me. Those figures by ASFA are based on you receiving some pension money, so that's not fully independent, well, what happens if I have that money? What happens to the pension then? Well, there is an effect. As a couple, the recommended assets are 640k. However, if you want a full pension, then you can only have a combined assets of 405,000. Whoa! Like 200,000 difference there. Okay, in Australia, the government has a cap on the amount of pension it's going to pay you. So it's not like if you have $1 million that you can keep having pension at the full rate. That's not how it works. Singles can have up to 270k in assets. What's an asset? Assets are basically everything excluding your primary place of residence, the home which you're living in. Well, that includes your car, some rings, some expensive camera equipment, all these things. You need to declare, I kid you not. It is not just financial assets which are in there being invested on or cash in the bank. It does actually include basically everything you own except for your house. If you're a non-homeowner, you can have more. Why? Well, because you'd be paying rent. So they expect you to have a bit more money up your sleeve, and they allow for that. If you have ASFA's recommendation in assets, you will not receive the full pension, but you can receive the part pension, and here are the cut-offs for that. If you're single, you can have up to 599.7k. If you're a homeowner, if you're a couple, you can have up to 901.5k combined. So just under the million mark. So why is this important? Well, if I'm not going to get that much from the pension, it's going to reduce as my assets are higher. What do I care if I get $1 a week? Well, that matters because you need to be receiving $1 a week to get the benefits that the government has in some of your Medicare benefits, in some of your health payments. Even if you get $1 a week, you're entitled to all those sorts of payments. But if you go above that amount that I've just given you in the table, you will get nothing in those health scheme systems. How much money you're going to need does depend on how long you're going to live for. If you're only going to live for 2 years, you don't need a lot of money. I know, wonderful information there for you. But if you're going to live for, say, 30 years, you will need 30 times as much money. This maths is amazing. According to one calculator for life expectancy for a male in Australia, for me specifically at my age, I am going to live to 85.46 years of age. Whoa, there we go. That's on average, and I will do a video on my 85th birthday to let you know how I'm going. Using that as a figure, it means if I get my superannuation at 60 years of age, that would be 25 years my super would need to last me. The pension is 18 years. How much money I need really does depend on whether I'm single or not. I'm currently not single, so that can be an advantage. Why? Well, for the following reasons. If you're a couple, you only need one house, presumably. Unless you don't speak to your partner, you might need 2. That's a separate matter beyond the scope of this video. Couples can share a car or cars if you need more than one. They can share rates, that is council fees. If you have central heating, you can share the heating and cooling costs, and subscriptions to things like Netflix, etc. can all be shared across the couple. So what are the disadvantages of being a couple? Fighting, no, it's got nothing to do with that. This is a finance channel. If you're getting the pension, then your pension will be cut. So 900 for a single, 679 for a couple. I'm being ripped off. I'm part of a couple. This is unacceptable. I tend to agree, but they are the rules. Should you consider divorcing immediately? That's entirely up to you. Now you have the information about how much money you need to get in order to comfortably retire. You need to do some more research. The best way of doing that is to click on my next video here on how to make some more money. I'll see you on the other side.